Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I have, like many, gone back to do some leveling, so I thought, why don't we talk some starting zones? Though with Shadowlands we are gaining this whole new starting zone experience. This zone will introduce new players to all things WoW, ending with an exciting dungeon run where you fight a dragon. It uses all of the new toys of modern World of Warcraft. It focuses on your class rather than your race. You are a soldier in your faction sent to rescue others. If you are a veteran, then it'll be interesting simply because it's something new, or a helpful way to meet up with friends that, you know, you're starting with different races. Goblin, Troll, Blood Elf, or whatever you may be. At least you have an area you can start and play together. Handy. But for a new player, this is an interesting, fun introduction to WoW. It will pull you in, giving your character a solid foundation within this world. Yes, it's a little over the top that this grunt soldier after 5 minutes is suddenly stood in front of your faction leader, be you Horde or Alliance, and he's giving you commands directly, even though you're a nobody. But hey, you're not a nobody. You are, of course, a hero. Yes, or champion, as we should say. Now, compare this experience to 99% of the current starting zones. Take your fond memory glasses off, and it's hard because even I've got to do that. I, for one, love the Undead starting zone. Still one of my favourites. Even the Orc starting zone has fond memories to me, because that's the very first zone. That's where I entered World of Warcraft, where I entered Azeroth for the first time. But if I look back on it and I compare it to what modern WoW is able to give us, it is somewhat lacking. The point of these starting zones is not only to teach you how to play World of Warcraft, but also to hook new players, to draw them into the world of Azeroth, giving players a sense of what their new character could do in this world, where they've come from, what motivates them, what are they part of, what is the bigger thing, be it the Horde or the Alliance. Think of any great RPG. The opening moment set the scene for everything to come, for what is ahead. It hooks you, and you want to find out more. And of course, in a cynical way, if Blizzard achieve this, they win, because players are payers, after all. Now, current starting zones, as I said before, are just dull for a new player. They're a slow grind just to get to 10. You haven't got heirlooms or anything. And in this world where we've got Fortnite and COD and GTA and all these other bright, shiny things, it's slow. I have to read quest text to understand the story? I've only got 2 buttons to press? Ugh! Not for me, I think. Now, granted, I know the counter-argument is, well, maybe an MMORPG isn't for you then. Yeah, and agreed, that's one way to look at it. The other is, WoW needs players to survive in the long term. It needs fresh blood. So what potentially is the solution to this? Yes, we could update the voiceovers, give some pretty graphics to these new zones, and leave it at that. But if we're going to suggest updating them, why not go all in? Why not go whole hog? Let us relive a moment that defined our race. Let's set the stage as grand as possible from the very beginning. A good example of this is the Goblin or the Worgen starting zones. Now, as much as I love the Goblins, I will say hands down, the Worgen starting zone is amazing and probably by far my favourite in WoW. It sets the stage, it sets the story for the race, why you need to join the Alliance, what has befell, you know, what's happened to you. The Goblins lost their home, this volcano, and then they get, you know, they're going to get bound into slavery, and they get freed, and that's why they join the Horde. You can see the story, you can see it all unfold. The Worgen, you can see you're just trying to defend your home, the Worgen appear, and you get bit, and it's fantastic. We don't have enough of that. So here's an example. Humans, when they very first log into the game, their starting zone could be that they relive the sacking of Stormwind and the fleeing to Lordaeron, showing the strength of the Alliance in their ability to fight back and win and overcome, and in fact showing how the Alliance was founded to begin with. And if the story being told is too far back, if you want to say, oh well, my character would be way too old now to play if they were in that event, well, then why not make your character be retelling this story to others? They're telling the story of their relatives, providing a voiceover as the story unfolds, giving you background to the events, but also direction. You could start with a cinematic and a voiceover, telling you, you know, the Petals, Stormwind faced this unknown foe, crushed everything in its path. Your father, So if you're playing as a male character, you'd play as your father, a male character, or you play as your mother, female character. They were ordered to scout the Horde. And then, of course, you then enter the game, and you find yourself scouting the Horde, but then, oh god, you're in a skirmish. You and your team are in a skirmish, combat started, that's your combat tutorial. Then all of a sudden you've got to mount up and ride back to Stormwind. You're then given a number of quests. You know you're about to be besieged, and they would introduce you to the different styles of quests. And wow, from picking up supplies to killing some forward scouts, the Horde again, and then of course evacuating Goldshire and getting all of those pornographic dancers out of... yeah, let's not even go there. But you need to evacuate Goldshire. The city is then overrun by the Horde. You're in the barracks, you're woken up by alarms, and you're informed that the Horde have breached the walls. And this could be all done by voiceover. For example, my father or mother woke with a jump when they heard the alarm sounding. First thing they did was head downstairs to where their captain is. And downstairs, your captain would be with a quest marker. And it could end in a dungeon, very much like the New Island does, where you have to work your way through the palace to get to Virion, so you could save him and take him to Lordaeron. And you could go as crazy as you want, because at the end of the day, you're telling a story to others in a tavern. And those around you could laugh and say, that's not how it went. There was no dragon in the palace that day. And the class you would play would be the same as what your parent would play. So it would be as if you were playing the same character, same leveling up, same gaining skills. Just be a way of telling a more interesting, dynamic story. And it would give new players a reason to want to play their race, to understand more about it, to understand what drives them. Orcs, for example, are seen as a brutal, savage creature. And I, for one, love that about them. My favourite race in Warhammer is the Orc. My first character in WoW was an Orc because I wanted to be a black Orc. And then I wonder why, as a player, Orcs are, and the Horde to a certain degree, aren't seen as barbaric or evil. But there's no reference for that when I'm first of all playing. So let's look at some examples of what you could be. Well, undead. Why not have it the taking of Lordaeron, when Arthas comes and the Scourge wipe Lordaeron off the face of the earth and leave it as a wasteland. You could be a villager that's running for their life, killed, and then you are raised up. And then you have meaningless quests that you need to do. Go and pick this box up and take it over there. Okay, and then Sylvanas comes to the fore because... the powers of the Lich King are fading. Arthas can't hold the same amount of power. And then you see what happens when Sylvanas takes control of Lordaeron. And you're there for that. You could have the gnomes. When they held against the same Horde that destroyed Stormwind, the gnomes held against it. You could actually have a really cool moment where the gnomes stood up and won. Which isn't shown very often in WoW. The Blood Elves, why not have the Purge of Dalaran, seeing them almost join the Alliance, and then all of a sudden you're fighting for your life to try and escape Dalaran. Even have it, if you're any of those that are probably old enough to remember the very beginning of Call of Duty 4, where you're actually like the president that's taken and shot, you could kind of have it like that, where you don't manage to make it at the end, because you're talking about a relative, and they're taken and, they're executed. It would give it an interesting twist, you had to see it from a different side. There are literally in WoW 1001 stories that could be told to bring these races to life more. Heritage Armor questlines are great. They are all well and good. But if you've already lost the player, most players leave before they even get to level 10. Just let that sink in. Before they even get to level 10, most players have already gone. So if they never get to max level, they never get their reps up, they never get to see their Heritage questline, then it's just gone to waste. The Blood Elf one, in my opinion, is well worth doing even if you play Alliance. It is fantastic. But as I say, most people never get to see that. They never get to reach that level. But I think I've talked enough, ladies and gents. I have talked enough. That is me done. Let me know in the comments. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think. Whether you think it's worth doing, whether it's just such a small, insignificant bit that, don't worry about it, Exiles takes care of that now, we don't need to worry about the starting zones, the game is endgame. Or if you think, actually, that'd be quite interesting to bring more of that RPG flavour in for new players so they can get more of a feel for their class. And also, it'd be fantastic to see what events for each race you'd like to see. Because I was going through them and I had so many in my mind, but this video would have gone on way too long. But anyway, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.